Hey everybody! Today, we'll be talking about one of the artifact sets released with version 4.6, the Unfinished Reverie. This is one of the few big pieces of Natlan lore we have, and with version 5.0 being right around the corner, it's very likely that the story mentioned in this artifact set will be extrapolated on very soon in-game, similar to the Narcissan Crows plot in Fontaine. To summarize, it describes the journey of 6 heroes as they plot to overthrow a tyrannical ruler in ancient Natlan who imprisoned the Saurians. These 6 heroes endeavor to save the Saurians and usher in an age where humans and dragons alike could live in harmony. Before getting into the actual artifacts and the lore they reveal to us, I'd like to set the stage for you all and introduce the main players in this story. First is the tyrannical king, unnamed in the set, described to be a half-man with a cracked ring. It is implied that he either wanted to wipe out or imprison the bishops and drive them out from Natlan. However, his plans would be foiled by the heroes of the story, the first of whom was an unnamed, crimson-eyed youth, said to have been through countless calamities, and who came from a kingdom where waters flowed to the heights of a great city. Given the description of the city, I believe this boy came from somewhere in Fontaine, perhaps Reverie, which might give us some clues as to how this story fits into the timeline. The second hero was a young girl named Sakuk, carrying a feathered accessory who acted as a messenger and scout for the heroes. Then there was Atahualpa and Huascar, the twin heroes. Atahualpa, the older twin, had a sharp tongue, while Huascar, the younger twin, bore burn marks on his back from the tyrant's lash. Then there was the warrior Yupanchi, who eventually freed the Saurians. The last of these heroes, however, was the most interesting, as he was another unnamed hero, described as a craftsman, who knew the ancient city of the tyrant very well, and could therefore sneak around and disarm traps. He was described as a drunkard with half of his face burned, and it is hinted that he had feelings for Sakuk, but did not act upon them. Now, with the characters all introduced, on to the story of the Unfinished Reverie. The flower of life is called the dark fruit of bright flowers, and it details the beginning of this tale. The unnamed scarlet-eyed boy was said to have returned after the tyrant decreed that nobody in his kingdom should ever know about the distant ancestors and the first ascended. This was a time where an ancient gloom threatened Natlan and its people. Yet the boy stepped into a floating garden where he met an old woman who told him to find a band of heroes willing to stand in the cold, cruel night, and to never betray and break faith with these heroes. The first to arrive of these heroes was Sakuk. Then there were the heroic twins, Atahualpa and Huascar. Finally, Yupanchi joined the heroes after hearing about the heroics of the scarlet-eyed boy. However, brave and strong as these heroes were, they did not understand the layout of the tyrant city all that well, so Yupanchi told the party of 5 about a rumor of a craftsman who could aid them in the upcoming rebellion. The Plume of Death is called the Faded Emerald Tale, and it describes how Sakuk was sent to find the craftsman inside the city. She had trouble with the task at first, but eventually she met a drunkard with half his face hidden with the hood, who started speaking about the backstory of the intricate designs adorning the feather she always carried with her. Sakuk was surprised that the maker of such beautiful accessories was a drunkard with half his face burnt off, but she felt no fear and handed her feather to this craftsman. It is revealed that Sakuk's father was an emerald-colored Quetzal, who was tasked with making something that could be respected by all. Yet Sakuk tells the craftsman that her father is dead, as he tried to protect the Saurians, but failed. It was then that the craftsman saw a blazing fire within Sakuk's eyes, and he consented to join the heroes on their journey. The Sands of Aeon is called the Moment of Attainment, and it is a quick detour from our current story, as it accounts for modern-day researchers and how they interpret the lost artifacts found in Natlan ruins. Specifically, within the ash-covered ruins of the Tyrant City, they would find many sundials with an engraving made in the exact same spot by a Burin. It is said that those who came from the canyons believed that these markings were from the time where the obsidian pillars were lit once more by those who had lost their faith. That day, Sakuk sent the wandering spirits back to the realm of the night. However, those who came from the hanging trees thought that it was a time for those who had forsaken their contract to sign it once more with the Saurians of the 6 tribes. And during that day, the warrior Yupanchi freed the Saurians from their shackles with the swing of his sword. The people from the spring's source believed it was a time for those who had forgotten their past to listen anew to the echoes of the waves, for it was that day that Atahualpa rekindled the desire of all for past glories. The ones who came from the fertile lands believed it was a time for the oppressed to rise from the earth once more, for it was that day when Huascar first stood against the torrent of darkness. Those who came from the mountain peaks thought it was a time for those who had been caged to obtain their freedom once more. It was that day that the scarlet-eyed hero summoned the god's fiery wrath and burnt the tyrant's city to ash, restoring the tribe to its own. It is said that the one who came from the mysterious smoke remained silent while studying the relics in the ruins of the tyrant's city. These heroes thought about an image of an eclipse before overthrowing the insane king, but it was the mysterious craftsman who was behind the plan all along. Strangely, the artisan left no name, nor did the histories record a single word he spoke to the heroes, and afterward he disappeared without a trace from the old stories. Fast forwarding into the modern day, this same youth that came from the smoke continued to observe the nearly identical scratches on the sundials with his hand. However, it is hinted that he knew, or at least knows, of the mysterious person who had engraved the marks upon these sundials, and it is implied that it is the mysterious craftsman who was behind these marks. The purpose of these sundials remains unknown. The goblet of the set is, oh god, that's a long name, the wine flask over which the plan was hatched. Yeah, okay. Anyway, this piece tells us a bit about the backstory of the mysterious craftsman. The tyrant that we all hate once gathered skilled artisans from the tribes, and he used them to excavate huge beastly constructs underground, hulking machines with wings as great as banners. However, the king's erratic behavior was known all throughout the kingdom, and so when people found out about this project, he burned everything down. The machines, the people involved, the king intended to seal everyone inside the ruins behind the stone gate. This craftsman was trapped inside the inferno, but then a golden tear, dripping from the stone of the ceiling, fell into his eye, and the craftsman saw gigantic creations and elaborate machines whirring, shadows driven by the flowing flames, climbing from the distant horizon up to the moon. Twin heroes asked if the golden tear was the source of the craftsman's fountain of fanciful stories, clearly not believing what the craftsman had to say, but the old man was accustomed to people not believing him. In reality, he had seen much more in those flames that nearly killed him, such as flowing golden patterns, another path to escape from the ruins, as well as the iron laws that established the tyrant's empire. However, these laws might be too far beyond the scope of the other heroes, youthful as they were. The time might come, however, when the craftsman could reveal more to the heroes. That gave him hope. But for now, his plans were set on how to build a brilliant imperial wall for the new king that would take his place of the tyrant. The circlet of Logos is called the Crownless Crown, and it fast forwards the story to when only one of the 6 heroes remained alive, that being Sakuk, the half-bird with the ornate feather. It is said that someone once agreed to remake the long-dulled feather accessories once the ancient kingdom had fallen, and in return, Sakuk would give him a turquoise crown. However, she witnessed the death of this same person hunched beneath the black beast's butcher's blade. Say that 3 times fast. It was then that she knew the crown she had forged and adorned with her own hands would wait alone for its master, who would never attend the coronation. Many years later, Sakuk's reputation among the 6 tribes was that of a hag who lived in the mines, with odd preferences in jewelry, much of which could no longer be made with the artistry of contemporary craftsmen. Among these crafts, if they belonged to a certain unnamed craftsman, she would pay any amount of precious gems for it, even if they were forgeries. However, it is hinted that she punishes those who forges the works of the specific craftsman, but it is not stated how she does so. Sakuk reminisces about her life, thinking that, in contrast to her friends who courageously sacrificed themselves, her life in comparison seemed too long. She used her time to gather all that was left behind by the heroes she missed. The scarlet-eyed boy she loved had returned to the sacred flames after completing his calling, leaving nothing but a warm afterglow. Atahualpa, Yupanchi, and Huascar would all die in turn, and Saguk found it amusing that she, the frailest of the heroes, lived to the end. However, she notes that there will surely come a time for a reunion with friends long since past. With the things belonging to her friends all in hand, she walked into the dark night, never to return. On the next day, however, the people of the mines stood under the tree where she had placed the turquoise crown, and they swore an oath to follow her final orders, blotting from history the name of the masterful craftsman she took away with her. Alright, so there are a lot of head scratchers and bits and pieces we can try to put together about Natlan with this artifact set. So why don't I rapid fire some cool details I noticed while reading about the set? So first of all is the identity of this red-eyed youth. Who is he? He's described to have experienced countless calamities and that he returned to Natlan from a kingdom where water flowed as rays of light to the hilly heights of the ineffable city. Reverie, perhaps? It's unclear right now, but the artifact set also mentions that apparently the scarlet-eyed youth disappeared into flames after completing his mission. Perhaps this is a new concept that will be introduced in Natlan, these wraith-like beings that linger in the world but disappear after fulfilling their purpose. However, the hero of this story reminds me a bit of Arlecchino and the situation with Clervy. Spoilers for Arlecchino's story quest, by the way. We learn in version 4.6 that Clervy's reappearance was due to something about the knave's constitution. Every time she used her powers to kill individuals, they would leave after images or fragments of their memories. Eventually, Arlecchino began to hear voices as more people died to her hand. In some cases, these emotions and visions were so visceral that they even manifested themselves as a conscious individual, which people could interact with, hence Clervy. Well, what if a similar situation is happening here, where the passion and the will of the Natlantians manifested as this red-eyed shadow, whose purpose was to free the Saurians and free Natlan of its tyrannical ruler? I'm still not too sure about what the artifact set means when talking about this youth returning from a place that is described similarly to Reverie. I feel like that is potentially a nuance that could undermine my whole mini-theory as to who this hero is, yet I still believe that it is plausible that this crimson-eyed youth is similar to Clervy, just being a manifestation of emotion. As to who manifested this hero into being, well, who knows? Now, let's talk a bit about the other unnamed character, the mysterious drunken craftsman. My initial impressions when reading about this character was, this guy has some similarities with the Lava Walker. The Lava Walker, much like this unnamed craftsman, was also a mysterious person who disappeared in the Marriage of Ari. He too was a drunkard, and he too had to endure scorching hot flames. However, I don't think that the Lava Walker and this unnamed craftsman were the same people. For one, the Lava Walker was said to be a sage, not an artisan. The Lava Walker is also said to have a teacher, but we don't know anything about a teacher for the craftsman when learning about his backstory. It is weird, however, that there are a lot of characters in Natlan who are said to have suddenly vanished, or are unnamed throughout history. You have the Lava Walker, who disappeared mysteriously in the Marriage of Ari. The crimson-eyed youth disappeared in flames after overthrowing the tyrant. And the craftsman, too, was said to have disappeared without a trace from old stories, covered by layer upon narrative layer. It kind of makes me think about Arlecchino again. It is said that the flames the knave produces can be used to erase people's memories. In fact, flames and the loss of memories seem to be very interconnected in the story, and this fact might be foreshadowing what's to come in the Natlan Archon quest. Flames surrounded the Lava Walker, and he disappeared mysteriously. The craftsman was injured by an inferno, and his name was erased from history. Even the crimson-eyed youth, whose name was not specified in this artifact set, disappeared into flames. It seems that, in the world of Genshin Impact, fire is representative of an utter annihilation of someone's memory, or the memories surrounding a certain person. Perhaps that is what Dainsleif meant when he told us about the rules of war in the Travail teaser. Perhaps the losers of war must burn to ash because they must be utterly forgotten for whatever reason. Maybe forbidden knowledge comes into play, who knows? The same reason why Rukkhadevata needed to be erased from the memories of the world could apply to certain people in Natlan that, should they lose a war, they must be completely forgotten. But that's all conjecture. What I believe is the real nail in the coffin of the whole fire is used to symbolize an annihilation of memories. Can be seen in the Fatui trailer. Remember the scene where Dottore was burning Irminsul? Well, so far, this has yet to happen in the story. But seeing as we are headed to the nation of Pyro, and we're getting all these hints in the game right now suggesting that fire is connected to the death of memories. Well, you have it right there, right? The tree of memories burning down. Fire is literally destroying memories. But if that were to happen in the Natlan quest in the future, what's gonna happen to, everyone into that? I guess we'll have to find out.